Is consciousness an illusion? Could this inner world of colours and sounds and smells and tastes be unreal? A trick the brain plays on me? I don't think so, but it's not as straightforward as you might think. Okay, so illusionism is the philosophical position that consciousness doesn't really exist. Sort of. Illusionists are happy to say that consciousness exists in one sense, but they deny that consciousness exists in another sense. And this can be quite confusing. So let's start with the sense of consciousness that illusionists are happy to accept. Illusionists are happy to believe in consciousness so long as it's defined in purely behavioral terms. Now, this might be external behavior of the organism as it interacts with its environment, but it might also be internal behavior of the bits of the brain as they form complex causal networks. Either way, consciousness, feelings, and experiences is all just patterns of behavior, what stuff does. Now, many people feel a bit uncomfortable with illusionism because they feel it doesn't fit with what we ordinarily mean when we talk about feelings and experiences. I mean, if I say Sarah's in pain, it doesn't seem that I'm making a claim about Sarah's behavior or the behavior of her inner parts. It seems like I'm making a claim about how she feels. And that just seems like a very different claim. Of course, there's nuance here, right? Of course, there's a close connection between feelings and behavior. If Sarah's in pain, she's no doubt going to be screaming and trying to get away or something. Everyone accepts that. I mean, with philosophers, there's always somebody, but pretty much everyone's going to accept that. But what many people would say is that, well, the behavior results from the feeling. But they feel very uncomfortable with the illusionist claim that feeling pain just consists in behaving a certain way or having your inner parts behave a certain way. That doesn't really seem to fit with what we mean by feeling pain or by a feeling, by an experience. And this is where the illusion business comes in. So the illusionist claim is that we are subject to the illusion that our feelings and experiences are more than just patterns of behavior. We are mechanisms that are deceived into thinking we're more than mechanisms. Okay, so that's illusionism. What do I think of illusionism? The first thing I would say is that I think the most common objection to illusionism, the one hears, doesn't really work. So you often hear people saying, well, an illusion just is a kind of conscious experience. So if you're happy to say there's an illusion, then there must be a conscious experience. And then so illusionism sort of becomes self-defeating or contradictory or something. I think this is too quick. As we've said, illusionists are happy to believe in consciousness in some sense of that word. So all the illusionist has to say to make sure their theory is consistent is to say, well, look, insofar as I believe in a conscious experience, I'm talking about something that can be defined in purely behavioral terms. So I don't think that works. Having said that, I also think illusionism is almost certainly false. Okay, so why do I think that? One thing that's unique about consciousness is we are almost certain that it's real. I think this is what Descartes got right when he said, I think, therefore I am. If I'm in pain and I attend to my pain and I think about it in terms of how it feels, I am close to certain that that feeling of pain is real, that I really am feeling that way. Okay, now an illusionist will say, yeah, sure, no, yeah, whatever, of course, you're feeling pain, your pain exists. It's just not what you think it is. But Let's think more carefully about this thing that I'm close to certain exists, my feeling of pain. When I attend to my pain and think about it, I'm not just sort of pointing at something. I don't know, I don't know what the hell it is. It's not like I'm just sort of pointing inside myself. Oh, there's this thing. I don't know what it is, but I know it exists. No, when I attend to my pain, I have a rich, positive understanding of what it is. It's a way of feeling. And I know how it feels when I feel it. And so to that extent, I know what it is. It's a way of feeling. Sorry, a bit repetitive now. But the point is, I have positive understanding of what the pain is. And it's in terms of that positive understanding of what pain is, of pain as a way of feeling, that my pain presents itself to me as more than just a pattern of behavior. And so I think what the illusionist is denying is not just some philosophical theory of pain that's sort of projected back on it. I think what they're rejecting is our basic understanding of what pain is. That basic understanding of pain as a way of feeling. I think it's that is inconsistent with illusionism. In other words, I think what illusionists are denying is something that we are almost certain is real. And that's why I think illusionism almost certainly, never say certainly, almost certainly is false.